Well, welcome back to Living with a Classic. And no, this isn't my new coffee table, but we'll grab a cup of coffee because this will be a fun thing. This is the famous Jaguar IRS, the independent rear suspension. And in today's video, we're going to disassemble it. Have a look at most components. I will try and go into as much depth as I can. I will not disassemble things that are good in this video. You'll probably see those in other videos in the future, such as if the hubs are in good shape. You have to remember this car behind me here is my 1975 XJS. It was restored in the 90s, early 90s, and then parked and never put back together. And I bought it with no interior, like the window's not really in it and things. And now I'm just redoing a lot of things that has to be done because it was sitting for so long. So, but I mean, hubs and bearings, you know, if it's not sitting and it's full of grease, should be fine. I've checked, there's no play in them, all of that. One other thing, if you do want to enjoy a cup of tea or coffee, I do have mugs. We have Living with Classic mugs. I also have V12 firing order mugs. So you can check the link down below if you want to check out my little store and just help support the channel, help keep the lights on and cameras and video cards and hard drives. And yeah, it takes quite a bit to run the YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out if you want to. So step one, I'm going to grab some penetrating fluid. We're going to hit everything that I'm going to take apart. Then, we'll set the camera, start taking things apart. I've already looked at a couple things. The calipers look to be in excellent shape. We'll see what they're like. If they're anything like the front calipers, it seems like they were brand new when this thing was put away. And someone had put caliper piston grease on everything. So it slid apart really, really easily. So if they're like that, we'll leave those alone. Otherwise, rebuild them. I do have new discs and pads just because I'm upgrading to EBC thanks to the sponsor of this whole project, Simple Performance. Next video, we're going to go into, or probably next. This next video, we're going to paint and tidy all this up. But the video after that, we're going to go into all the upgrades and things. I have some out there, so we might show a couple of them. So we'll get new shocks and things. But other than that, I will grab some penetrating fluid, set you guys, move you guys back a little bit, and we'll start disassembling this wonderful piece of engineering, the IRS. So there are a lot of things I want to remove, and things I'm not really sure if I need to remove. Putting in a new exhaust, so I might need to remove the exhaust hangers because there's different positions, and I don't remember. I think those might need to do that. Then we have here, we have the upper shock mounts. We'll also be going through the hardware at the end of the video and seeing what sort of shape it's in. If I'm gonna just get new hardware or really what the plan is. There's nothing wrong with the nuts and things probably, but they don't look that pretty. They're a little rusty looking. So we'll see about that. Okay, I think I've hit everything. Let me just grab some tools and we'll lower this thing down again. I am going to start getting as light as possible. So I'll start with the hubs and shocks. Then we can get the cage off. We'll do all the brake lines, of course, as well, so we can get those off. Then after that, we can take the axles out. And then we'll get into brake discs, calipers. So really we're going to strip it all down until it's just the diff. So hopefully that shouldn't take too long unless everything's really stuck. We do have all the mounts here as well. They're actually in really good shape. I'm not going to replace those. There's not a single crack on them or anything. They can also be replaced later on the car if I notice after maybe a while of driving that they start cracking. But I am by no means made of money, and I'm just building a car that I really, really like, a 3HE XJS, and want to make it as good as possible, but once again, still on a budget. Step one for me is to get this thing lighter, and that is just to get the hubs off. Pretty easy to get off. The big nut here, and there is, of course, a split pin that goes through it. I actually had to replace the split pin on my daily driver because I noticed when I swapped tires that it had rusted off. Or started to, so it was still, in place and holding it, but it wasn't that great. Let's see. This is actually the most difficult part of the whole procedure, is getting this thing out. Like I said, I'm not going to be rebuilding the hubs. I believe I have a customer car that does need new rear wheel bearings, at least on one side. So I will film that for you guys if I do that. But on this car, if I don't need to, I'm not going to. It is, let me see, 1 1/8. And then, there we go. They should just pop out like that. Should be nice and greased. Slip it off the last bit here. There is a shim on the inside here. Just make sure you put that back. Same goes for when you replace these bearings, which we're not going to do, but if you ever do, there is a whole thing of end flow and all that back and forth. But if you're just replacing the bearings and putting them back together, 9.9 times out of 10, it's the same shim. So you can usually do that. Let's see. We may need to raise it up to get this thing fully out of here. But you see, this is basically what the axles are like. It's there and there's the same. And yeah, let me raise up my jack a little bit so we can get this apart. We can get a feel for what that joint feels like. There we go. Should be able to get this. I don't know, it's the grease fitting on there, but come on. No, it's the grease fitting here that's hitting on the arm, but just from this, that doesn't feel too bad at all. Not really notched or anything, so we'll just fill that with new grease when we take it apart. Next part is this shaft here that holds the hub in place. There are little seals and things in here because you can grease that whole shaft here to make sure, pivots nicely. So we want to get all that apart and just make sure that you see how that goes back together when you put it all back together. So let me just get the right tools for that, and then we'll free this hub off. And that is 15/16. Now let's get an adjustable span there on the other side. Put that back on. And now I'm going to grab an extension that fits in the middle of here, and we can continue knocking it out. When you do this, make sure that you don't hit anything on threads, just like this, because it is a pain to put together. I redid an IRS last summer for a customer where the threads were damaged. I noticed that one took apart, and that was a pain to put back together. There we go. And that came off really nicely, so you can see here there's a washer, and then There's some oil seal rings and things, but everything is really, really nice. Like I said, everything is brand new. 30 years ago, hasn't seen a mile of use. So I'll probably just take this apart, have a look inside, or what we'll do now is we'll look at the shaft here. You see it's perfectly greased. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So I don't need to replace that. But if you see a large buildup of grease all over here, or if this looks rusty, then of course replace it. But let's have a look at this hub here. It doesn't feel notchy. It feels really good. And there was no play-ins on the car. So nothing wrong with here. I also looked in here before and the grease looked really nice in there. So I'll be cleaning this off with a wire wheel because they're not supposed to be painted black like this. I'll paint this black again and clean it up. I will mark these right and left so they go together in the right way. Let me get the same thing off on the other side. You always want to be working on both sides because otherwise it's going to tip over. And then we can get onto the shocks, radius arms. You need to do shocks before because the bolt for the radius arm gets blocked by the shock. Then we can start with the cage and then get into axles and all of that. So the shocks are really easy to remove. They are held in place here in the bottom and then 2 bolts at the top. So let's see, I think, yeah, this is 11/16. Oh, come on. Yep, there we go. Shocks are definitely an easy DIY things to do on the car. I will be upgrading to the Fast Road kit by Simple Performance. So if you've seen a famous XJ Coupe online, you know Harris Garage Car has the Fast Road kit that they make. So it's all adjustable. So it will be that'll be really fun to put back on. But that's why we're taking everything apart to paint and clean it, because I don't want to put nice shiny parts onto all this old stuff here. Once again, an extension works just fine. And there we go. Just gonna get that spacer on there, which is actually in the wrong place. This was assembled incorrectly. Alright. Well, we'll put it back together correctly. Now, you have these bolts up here. It's not one bolt, it's actually 2 of them. So you need a 5/8. You can just reach up in here. And there we go. I'm gonna see, I'm not sure if the kit comes, I think it comes with new hardware, if I remember correctly. We'll see in one of the future videos where we put it all together. But the other things like the nuts and things I'm taking apart, see, these are all nylon lock nuts. In my opinion, they're really one-time use. So you always put new stuff back on. If you buy a different kit for something and it doesn't come with it, just to put new stuff on. So you see they come out really nicely. And the nice thing about doing them on the car is you can do one side. You don't have to remove the whole rod there. You can do one side and then knock it over to the other side and do the other side without disturbing anything, which is actually really nice. These they look rather crusty. They're not leaky or anything, so technically they're probably alright. The car felt pretty good in the rear, just from, you know, trying to balance the rear of it. So let's see. I like this. Yeah, we'll stick around. We'll hang around to them. You never know. Could need them for something, or I don't know. Trying not to be cheap, but you know, you could clean them up and paint them and put them on my daily, for instance. That would be fine. Because I don't think they have any miles on them. I just think they're rusty from this car sitting outside all those years. Come on. There we go. And there is a little inner bushing in there. Sometimes when I've bought new shocks, that wasn't included for some reason. So make sure you save that. I don't know why. That's been the case. Okay. Now we have the radius arms over here. That is just a big bolt going into there. So I'll take those off and put this out of place. That's really simple. Then there's a couple ways to go about this. I really like to get the cage off pretty quickly, especially since I have the exhaust on here, and I'm going to keep it on here for now and just remove it easily because I don't want to split it up. So here you have these things here. So we'll loosen those and hit those out. In here are a bunch of washers, sealant rings and things, because there's needle bearings in here. They're greased. You gotta be careful with those. But we'll knock that out, loosen the lock wire here, loosen up these to go straight into the diff, and loosen some brake lines. I got the safety wire here, so these hold the diff onto the cage. There we go. Put those over there. Now we have some brake lines up here. So I think I'm just going to try loosen the ones I have to deal with. There we go, that's one. And the other one. Time to start knocking these out. There we go. It's in really good shape. We'll be replacing that nut, like I said, but we'll put it all together for now. So no problem with that one at all. I'll knock the other side out, and then it's just these bolts here on the front and the back, and we'll be able to lift the whole cage off. Last bolt here, and I think I have this connected everything. I can lift this cage including exhaust, out of the way. On the other side, I forgot to show one thing, and that's there are these return springs for the parking brake mechanism, and yeah, it's pretty obvious. You just unhook those. This thing it's really quite logical to work on, and especially I'd recommend if you have issues with yours and you've never done anything on one of these before, remove it. Oh, come on. It's because someone damaged that plate there. I have a spare one, but yeah, like I said, remove it, because once you see it on the ground, you will realize how it's not very complicated and it's not that difficult to work on. Normally this is a lot easier if you have the exhaust removed, but I'm being a little bit lazy here. So let me get these off. They have these big special washers. Everything's looking really good. It's all greased up and in good shape. So I don't see why there should be any issues with anything in this IRS. Come on. These are a pain to get back in my opinion. They are. Maybe I'm not helping myself by being lazy. It's just because I can't get them apart and I don't want to throw them out. So I think what we'll do is I'll loosen the exhaust hangers and then lift this all off. Scrap that, I have a new idea. We're going back to middle school physics and leverage. Perfect. Little exhaust is removed. See, the reason is this joint was difficult to get off, and I'd rather store the spare exhaust altogether. But normally, you wouldn't do that. There we go. Now, let me see, I think if I remember correctly that they are, yep, they're 11/16. And I'll grab the impact and we'll take them off. These are special nuts that go on here. See, someone's put the incorrect one. They're nuts where the last couple threads of them are basically cross-threading to lock. It's a good idea to have. They're definitely one-time use, and you need to replace them when you put this all back together. Another thing to think about is there are shims behind here. Be aware of those and put them back in the same place that you got them from. You can see them all here. And this is how you adjust your rear end. So I'm not good with remembering which is which, caster camber, all that, but if you go for an alignment, you need to adjust your rear end. This is how it's done. So I like to assume, in this case, that it's all correct. And we'll put it back the way it was. So zip tie through there. I'll do the axle on the other side. I'm also going to mark them right and left so I know which ones go where, and then we'll move on to the brakes. Now it's not much left. It's just the calipers and the discs, and they're really just held in place by the calipers. You have bolts all the way in here. You can't really see them, but you can feel them, and there's been a safety wire between them, which I just removed, and then they're 5/8, I believe. Yeah, and they're a little tight in space to undo. And as you can see now, yes, you can do this in the car, but would you really want to? And there we go. So you can get it all off as one piece. There are the bolts. And like I said, these are brand new calipers when this thing was put away. So most likely they're in excellent shape. I'll just have a look at those and clean them up. I probably won't even paint them because they look so nice. I think I can just clean them up. Parking brake calipers are in good shape and working as they should. So we'll adjust all that when they go back on. Might just get new pads in there just in case they break down. So the new parking brake pads, and I have new pads for the brakes because we're putting EBC on. And then the discs just come off like that, and then you will have shims there as well. So they use some sort of interesting grease in there, but I'll save these discs for when I have another car that needs discs. Nothing wrong with them. Let me just strip out this other side as well. It's really fiddly to get these out. Just, you know, not even half a turn, just, you know, a sixth of a turn at a time. Cut this side off, and then we're pretty much done. And here we have it just all laid out now. I've always wanted to do this, just sort of lay it out in exploded view. All looks really good. No real leaks from the diff, a little bit from the back cover, so we'll get a new gasket for that. Other than that, it's all looking really, really good. I tried on one of the calipers and I pushed in the pistons. They're completely free. So calipers are in great shape. And yeah, a couple of things. Like I said, I'm going to replace this plate. I have a spare one. Clean all this off, paint it, and clean up, get those back to bare aluminum. So I have a lot of prepping and painting and polishing things to do. But the next time you see this, it will be all ready to assemble. We have some new shiny bits, and the rest will be painted and nice. And then we're ready to put it back into the car again. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked seeing the assembly of the IRS. If you haven't seen the first part about removing it, you'll find it this like 2 videos ago on the channel. So you'll find that there. But I hope you guys really like this and you're liking seeing the XCS getting built. You know, slow and steady, but we're going to get this thing back on the road. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Till next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.